Yeah, no.
Did we have minutes that were?
Yeah.
And it's
Pass it on minutes too.
Minutes will work. Good evening and welcome to the,
Town Hall Planning Commission,
the date,
Oh.
19th, right?
the 19th.
Yeah, the March 19th, 2024, meeting of the Pownell Planning Commission. I'm going to start with a member roll call.
My name is Megan Randall and
I guess I'll go next. Brian Harris.
John Shea.
Fred Miller,
I haven't seen Michelle yet. Have you let her in?
find out how long then.
Just had to bear with us. We're having technical difficulty.
Also known as Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our secretary is out for some kid.
Administrative and executive assistants available to assist us at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not secretaries.
Everybody has been allowed into the meeting. I apologize for the delay. I am acting as technician with our Zoom meeting tonight. First time ever.
I think you got it.
I think it's working.
Got
We just
it.
did a board member roll call. And our next item, agenda item is an addition. We're going to restructure the planning commission. So I'm entertaining nominations. Chairman of the board of the planning commission.
Nominate Brian Harris. If elected, will you serve?
If elected, I will serve. I do not seek the position.
Okay.
I'm going to nominate John Bushy. Entertain a second.
I don't think I can technically second myself.
Yeah, there's not.
Okay.
Maybe we should wait till.
We have 3 seconds now.
Well, Michelle's here.
Michelle's here.
Is she muted?
I don't know.
No,
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we doing? I would second both of you.
You second both? Okay.
Both would do a good job.
Yeah,
All right.
Fred, you're doing it.
Rochambeau for it?
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, no, 1, we go. Rock, 1, 2, 3, shoot, ready?
No, come on.
2, 3.
You guys, this does not, here, this does not look professional.
It's not what we're
Want to
doing.
go
One,
up
3. Never mind.
there? Do the minutes.
A little comedy for you guys. So try to keep it light.
So, we have
All right.
a nomination and a second for both Brian and John. Uh, Roll call in favor of John Bushy.
Are you starting with?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, Michelle, you're aye.
Mhm.
I'm aye.
I'll vote aye. If John wants it.
I abstain.
Okay, so that's 3 ayes. So that sounds like that, yeah, ayes have it
Mhm.
for John Bushy. I'd like to nominate Brian Harris for vice chair.
Second it.
Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
I
Abstain.
Okay, so we effectively have John Bushy as the chair and Brian Harris as the vice chair going forward.
We've got to work on a rock, paper, scissors.
You gotta do rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
I like that one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Oh,
I
Like,
apologize.
not at.
Apologize for everybody for the awkwardness. I'm multitasking. So,
You're doing brilliantly. I think we should stop apologizing.
yeah, thank you.
You listen, if government's good for anything, it's good for a laugh.
yes. All right, so we'll continue on here with board approval for agenda. So we're gonna,
I'd like to add,
okay, yes.
agenda item, after BCRC discussion. I would like to add, a membership discussion, regarding, raising our roster up to 9 members
For the,
for the planning commission.
planning commission.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with changes.
any seconds?
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You have to
Aye.
roundtable. Aye.
Michelle just said aye. Okay,
Aye.
Megan, aye.
Brian, aye. Oh,
Fred, aye.
Brian, aye.
And John, I.
We will get better because it can't get worse.
Not usually this goofy.
No, I'm in a good mood today. Don't ruin it. Yes.
We're gonna, next is approval of minutes. There is a change on the minutes. It was written down as I called the meeting to order. It was Fred that called that to order, so that's the change I found in that. Other than that, I think we make sure everything else is okay.
I think so.
Look for a motion for that, to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the stated changes.
One possible change, just it's more of a question. On second page, about a little after the halfway mark, it mentions Carl Strohmeyer stated that the only affordable housing we have in Powell is trailer parks. Do we need to mention that Carl stated that as a member of the public?
Yeah, we should, as a member of the as a
Yeah.
public comment,
Yeah, public.
I'll just, yeah, as public comment, comma, Carl Strohmeyer stated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Fred, aye.
Megan, aye, sorry, excuse me.
Michelle,
What's she voting? She just said Michelle.
I said, oh, no, I said Michelle, I.
Oh, Brian, aye.
And John, I. All right, moving on to the BCRC, municipal planning grant draft outreach plan. On you.
Thank you. So do you have a copy of the presentation that I sent to Hannah and Tara? I have a copy of it here, if it's possible to get this up on the screen.
Ooh.
Probably better finding it.
If you don't mind me.
Yeah, if you want.
We have a port right on the side.
Oh, my God, controls one on this thing.
So we're here. This one. Fine. We want to, share screen. Share screen. Oh, it's here.
There we go. Oh, I,
Cool. And if you just hit the down button.
Michelle, you've been
Okay.
delegated.
Every time I point.
Every time you give me a cue.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your patience, everybody.
I thought that was quick.
Actually, before I get started and sit down, I was mentioning this to, my colleague, Janet Hurley is, hosting a, land use, training workshop for municipal officials, on April 23rd, 2024. So this is, for folks on planning commissions, for folks who are zoning administrators and, folks throughout, Bennington County, who have any use related to land use, who have any authority related to land use positions. This is just helping you go over legal stuff, giving you a basic, workshop day of education to bring people up to speed if there's been any changes in the law, et cetera. So I'll have these flyers available here, and I'll leave a couple at the desk here for anyone else. But April 23rd, 2024, rather, at 1 p.m. And that's up in Manchester. We sort of rotate where it's at every year, but this year it's up in Manchester. So if you can make that.
Can you attend by Zoom or is it only?
There is a remote option available.
Okay, thanks.
Good question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Gremline. I'm with the Bennington County Regional Commission. I guess I could have introduced myself before I pitched the event. But I was here a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the Pownell Center Village Improvement Municipal Planning Grant that Pownell received from the state, that we are going to work on focusing in this downtown area, in this area here. The village center is a designated zone. And we're going to be focusing on that space. Today, I am going over our outreach plan, so you can get a sense as to how we're going to be engaging the community to get feedback about what the residents of Pownell would like to see happening in this community. If you hit the next slide. Just to remind everybody what the Village Center Improvement Plan, the project goals were, to maximize potential for a town green. So that's really building on the work that's been done with the skate park and the public space down here at the bottom of the hill.
The pollinator garden. The pollinator garden.
Pollinator garden, right? Which is generally will help foster community space to gather, conduct business and do recreation. And then generally to help facilitate development in the greater area. So next slide, please. What we're talking about here is our community engagement aspect of it. So, we both of us have overpriced master's degrees. And we have a sense of some ideas about land use and the law and planning expertise and best practices and all kinds of things from around the country. But what we really need to know are the opinions of the people who live here to help inform us, people who can look at things and go, no dummy, like this is X, Y, and Z, like why don't you see it this way, and help us really understand things from the perspective of people who are going to be using the space ultimately in the end. So, we're here to employ, as from our charter, was to employ an equitable planning process with extensive community outreach and stakeholder engagement. And that's what we're here to show you today, what we've come up with in order to provide that outreach and then help that inform our process. You want to go to the next slide? So the first thing we've been doing is identifying stakeholders and events, and we've had some help from the Parks and Recs Committee to try to figure out the best opportunities where we can go to where the people are in the town of Pownell in order to do things. And we've reached out to folks from all these institutions, the elementary school. We're going to continue working with folks from the fire department, the historical society, libraries and things like that. And we are going to go to where the people are for the most part. If there are other folks, when it comes to things like local businesses, we're going to really be focusing more on hyper local businesses. If we can get in front of Village Market and Video, we'll be doing that much more likely than going in front of Stewart's, because, we want to be focusing a little bit more on the geography immediately surrounding Pownell Center. Similar to these other things, I know the seniors and the youth baseball kind of don't play very close to here. But we may end up doing some general outreach to them as a whole, but we're going to try to focus on the folks who are currently coming to the space to get their opinions on it. And to some degree, we'll work on people who are in the periphery and asking them why they're not coming to the space if they even know what's around. So if you want to go to the next slide. What we're going to be doing though is we're going to be engaging the stakeholders. So the plan is to take the folks from the community here and help them feel like they are able to share their visions for what they would like the community to be. We're going to do that in two ways. We're going to be collecting qualitative and quantitative data. You know, we have a small community, we have small sample sizes. There's only so much information we can get from having people, you know, say whether they prefer something, you know, greatly or somewhat greatly. You know, we're going to keep all of our sort of qualitative data very, very simple. Quantitative data very simple, but the really important thing is for us to be able to have conversations with people and help that guide our work. We're going to be engaging people through three main ways. One is survey collection, and that's, like I said, the qualitative data. And so we'll be doing a direct mail campaign to get survey responses. That survey will be offered online. We'll be allowing through social media and other things for that to happen. And then also in the same way, you have a town ballot box here. We're going to have paper versions available for people if they want to come into town hall and fill them out, as well as when we go to events and do these other two items on the agenda here, which are workshop sessions and our tabling events. We are going to have paper, surveys available for people to fill out in those cases as well. The main thing is to help people feel like they're part of the process, or to help people become part of the process, not just feel like they're part of the process. But we want people to be proud that they're participating. And so we're going to do things like have these stickers available for folks to let them show some Pownell pride, and also to let other folks in the community see, feel a little bit of fear of missing out about what they're about, also sharing their visions for the future here. Next slide, please. So the first, method that we're going to be doing is survey collection. There are 884 addresses in the two 05261 and 05260 zip codes. That's not the entire town of Pownell. Those are the codes that are, closest to here and that are sort of all contiguous within the town of Pownell. That'll be easy for us to use. And then that direct mail is going to have links to the survey and outreach events, and then info about our tabling events. The surveys will also be available, like I said, at the tabling events. And there'll be flyers and other things around that will have a QR code, which is a phone scan code that will take you directly to the survey. We'll also be promoting this on social media. Any assistance you guys have with that, or groups, we're going to, like I said, we have the stakeholders we talked about. Hopefully the folks maybe at the Cal Ripken Baseball will be able to shoot up something to their people on Facebook about it or something, or we'll work with all of the local stakeholders to try to have them share the survey collection on the surveys links to on social media. And we'll try to work with partner groups as well. I've had a little bit of contact with Bethany Lorge at the elementary school. And I think we'll be able to get some handouts done and everything there too. So hopefully I can go back home with the parents and maybe also, again, work with churches and things like that in the local community. Next slide, please. We also plan on doing workshop sessions. So we're actually planning on kicking off the survey collection, kicking off sort of our public engagement process and letting the public know that we are doing this plan with a workshop session, specifically with the Historical Society. I've talked with Joyce Held, and she is enthusiastic about taking a group of people around, explaining the history of Pownell Center here. And then we would like to follow that up by having a session where we bring everyone who was then on that tour into this room, and then we do a series of conversations and we look at maps and we talk about things, and we sort of put some of that historical context into the contemporary present, where we then can say, how do we want to build the future from there? That's going to have all kinds of things. We're going to use some maps and art tools and other sorts of engagement. And then we also plan on having a second session, closer to the end. That's going to be in August or September, where, we take some of our initial ideas and we put them out for the public to have some feedback on. So, and that'll include something much more like a voting mechanism and ways for people to make comments on what we've said. Next slide, please. And the bulk of our work is going to end up being in tabling events. So we've looked at our sort of hours, and looks like we can do at least 7 opportunities for tabling events in the area. These are gonna, some of these will be very specific on things like Panel Day, celebrate Panel Day when we have events in the area where there are people gathering. If we find any additional events in the area, that there have been some historic events like Spring Fest that have happened that the parent teacher group at the elementary school is not sure that they're hosting this year or not. If they are, then we will do our best to be available and have staff there to table and to engage people at whenever those things pop up. But mostly we're looking at having those engagement opportunities do what I was talking about when in the earlier slide, which is, probably going to Village Market Video, maybe going to a few of the other areas, other stores in the area, and possibly even the Panel View Barn or something that's sort of in the general area here, wherever the business owners will allow us to set up a table and talk with their customers for a little while. And then, of course, to spend a lot of time as well here in the park, talking to users of the park, people who are coming here now, figuring out where they come from, figuring out why they're here, what drives them to be here, and what they'd like to see and how they'd like to continue to engage with the space in the future. So, some of those things, businesses will generally be weeknights, and the other types of tabling that we're going to be doing will be weekends. We'll try to time one so it comes out at the same time as say church service lets out and things like that, so we can engage people who are in the area already. Next slide, please. So the outreach schedule, now it's starting in April, we're going to be creating the survey and the mailer together. We plan on sending the survey off in March, especially once we have a better sense of what days specifically we are going to be at specific events. And once we've organized with the Historical Society, when we know that kickoff event is going to be, that initial mailer that has the survey will also, be a tool for getting people to come to that kickoff event. And we'll be doing that tour in June, starting that kickoff tour in June, and then between June and August, having all those other tabling and event things happening. July 27th specifically being a important day, we'll have Celebrate Panel Day. We expect, to only really have 2 folks, at a table for most of the time, but Celebrate Panel Day, we'll have all of our hands on deck, and we'll be getting more people there to engage with a wider audience. Again, in August, we'll close down the survey and we'll begin to do our analysis and our report will be, then in September, we'll have a proposal feedback workshop, like I said at the end. Also something, again, we want to have on site, whether or not there will be a pre-tour component or anything like that remains to be seen, but we're going to have to see what our proposals end up being before we really design what that's going to look like. Next slide, please. And just overall, to remind you guys of what the project schedule was. Our kickoff meeting here in January, and the final report is due in December of 2024, with the initial presentation of findings to the first you guys here at the Planning Commission, and then following up a second meeting with the entire select board happening in November. Next slide, and that's basically it. That's how we're looking at moving forward with this. We got some, I hope this sort of balances a lot of the needs you guys talked about. You wanted to have both intimate conversations, it sounded like, but also do as much work as we could to reach a broad swath of the panel audience. So, yeah, if there's any thoughts or questions, please let me know.
Are you doing this all with just your BCRC staff? Are you having any volunteers?
Well, we have
Tabling work.
one intern from Williams College who will be working with us,
You intend to
starting in
use-
June. But other than that, it's gonna be BCRC staff.
Okay.
And I guess he's technically BCRC staff on a very limited, time period. Yeah. so, But that's, yeah, we want to make sure that people who are, having these conversations, know how to, take the right notes and understand what to listen for, to help inform, the work. Well,
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I thought that was a very balanced approach and I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into your outreach plan. My question was, will we be able to preview the survey questions before they're issued?
Yeah, we can do that. We've got, like I said, we're developing the survey questions now. But we can definitely have something sent to the, planning commission. Whether that's a item that you would like us to be here for the presentation of the survey questions, or whether that's something you just want to have some email feedback that you give us or whatnot, we're happy to do that either way.
Recreation committees.
Recreation committee as well, for all that, yeah. Right. And we're doing a little bit of a mix. Some of the things we'll be talking about will be a little bit more amenities focused and programming focused in the survey. That focuses a little more of the, parks, but then some of it will be a little more, again, long-term thinking, where we're asking people to consider what, this whole neighborhood should look like, as it develops in the future.
I think since your initial presentation in January, voting was taking place. And my observation from my participation was that it was very congested. And so I think that, if there's a way that we can work that into the survey or we make sure that we take that into consideration, you may get feedback.
When,
And we should take that into consideration.
Yeah, because it's true, it was a presidential primary kind of thing. So a lot of people came in good, solid voting.
Yeah, in terms of site planning, it was a good test of how this.
Exactly. Where do people park and,
right.
this room can only hold, was it 45 people?
I think the fire code or there's a fire limit on the number of.
Yeah.
people.
So,
Yeah.
so you have to stop them at the door and so people were waiting. It wasn't
No, I was talking about the building congestion. I was talking the parking lot.
the
and
parking.
People parking all the way down onto Center
Yeah.
Street and, it gives you an opportunity to think of how maybe we could,
Yeah.
if we could envision this site differently, to accommodate voting, what would it look like? There are people walking down onto the street, coming back up. It was just an opportunity to think about, what could we do better here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those high use case scenarios are important for us to consider, as well as thinking about what designing for one day of use a year, how that also might affect, the other days of the year as well.
I did notice on the recent election day, people were parking up there and walking down this bank
Yeah.
here, and it's like a
Exactly.
wet slippery bank, and
It's probably not.
I'm thinking it might be an idea to go stairs.
Yeah, I know it's been discussed about trying to put some kind of stairs in there.
Tom Zolper.
Could you just state the name for the record too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just making sure everybody does. I know I didn't ask you. I was gonna have you do it too after.
Tom Zolper, 472 Center Street. Couple of questions, and forgive me, I just got a chance to look at this report, this draft a couple days ago, so I may not understand it. But would there be an openness to meet with immediate homeowners and residents, perhaps just an informal meeting at the church or something? Because I think we're important stakeholders. Sure. And obviously we can take a survey and help ourselves to some of the things, and I think it's a great comprehensive outreach plan, complements to it, but and I haven't spoken to my neighbors, but I'm happy to reach out and ask them to organize something if you're open to
Sure.
Whether that's-
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that, there's any civic groups or community groups that, want to invite us to come and talk about the process,
Yeah.
we think we're happy to do that. That being said, also happy to, do some additional outreach efforts, to folks in the immediate area in advance of that, first workshop we discussed as well.
That's really generous, thank you.
Yeah.
And another question is, and again, this may be my, really, if I'm not understanding what you're proposing, but so facilitate development in this area. I am certainly not a developer. You guys are planners, but not necessarily developers. Would there be value in seeking input from developers? Because it seems it's an important question is, will it bring business, the right kinds of business? Will this actually succeed if we infill in this area?
Sure.
Or will we end up with infill but no businesses? And so it seems like that's a question for somebody who has some experience with real estate and business, and there's guys who are, and women, very, very creative in that aspect of the business world, that you may not get from a local retail, hyper local business, but you may get from somebody whose business is development,
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that, first of all, we did a study last year, that was a little bit more focused on the development environment and the business environment, for not just Talent Center here, but, town-wide. And that was sort of looking at sites that were the, most, developable, within the town limits for a series of different things, including housing, in manufacturing or industrial uses and also retail uses. And so Talent Center was determined during that study to be an area that was both very suitable for housing and for potential retail development, in that sort of walkable, multi-story, mixed use, retail sort of way that, it's zoned for, currently right now. But again, there hasn't been a lot of, development activity happening here. That looked at a lot of the specifics required to, for square footage or for investment that a lot of developers have, a lot more closely than we plan to with this specific study. The specific study is a little bit more based on how to create a physical environment in the area that would potentially attract that form of development.
But that's the important thing, I think, is it's one thing to infill with residents, other homes. And if that's the definition of development, then you can achieve that relatively easily if you get permission from someone, particularly one landowner around here. But to attract business, if I understand it correctly, it's zoned now for business, right? And you had a home right down there that used to be a business. It was on sale for 6 months. Business, if this was an attractive area for a business, they would have been interested in that.
Right, and there are some reasons that it's not as much, and, some of those things have to do with connectivity and other things, and
Sure.
and and while working with the development community is obviously important in the end goal, I think that there's a lot of things at this phase that we can look at, that doesn't directly involve working with them, at this point. But it is something that, again, I think we have a lot of, best practices and examples we can look at.
Yeah,
And right now, I think given the sense as to what the community wants, and then to see how we can then marry that with other things that are happening in market forces.
And I don't want to prolong this. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for me to speak further, but this is a really tiny little community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so business requires traffic. It requires access. It's a complicated, you can go to downtown Bennington where there's a lot more density and see multiple buildings that have vacant stores. It's a tricky thing to get business into a tiny little town like this that's off the main road.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's
And
awesome.
so the other part of that is also getting a sense of which businesses are appropriate.
Sure.
Based on those kind of factors.
But you may find out that stakeholders in general I certainly don't have the expertise to do that. And you may find that that's not an expertise of many people. So if one of the points is to sort of develop this mixed use aspect, that's a real specialty, especially for this particular tiny little community. And I trust you, whether you're going to get it early or late, I think at some point it's a critical piece of your outreach. Because what you can end up with is the density, but you don't get what you all really wanted, which is sort of a liveliness of the area. Some commercial aspect or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah. And you at BCRC, you guys, people have education in master's degrees in development and rural development and things like that. I know Jonathan does.
Policy and planning, yeah.
Policy and planning and rural development. So you're not without anything up your sleeve. As far as history, what's worked here, what's worked over there,
Ultimately, what we're coming up with here is a set of things that can be, a set of recommendations that can be implemented by a town government. And there's only so much that a town can do, and there's only so much that a developer can do, and they have to eventually kind of work together. But the idea is for us to be able to lay the groundwork that will be attractive to developers out of the area. And there are things that we are aware that are sort of universal to that. And unfortunately, like you said, it's a small community, and unfortunately, the development community here is very small as well. And we are familiar with a lot of the folks who build housing in the area. We're familiar with a lot of the folks who build retail in the area. Our coworkers all sit on boards together and, work on other projects all together. And I think that those are obviously things that are always on our mind when we're sort of creating this, is to how can we, set the stage so that the market can then do the work to bring it into being, because ultimately, it's not something that's going to be completely dictated by the town, nor should it be something that's completely dictated by just a couple of property owners who, are the want to develop the space either.
Can I just put one final word in, and I'll hook it off. All good, but out to the planning commission members themselves, the proposal that comes, I love the BCRC. I'm working with them on the trolley path line.
Great.
Closely, and so I love the organization, but planning group is their expertise is planning, and I was very involved in so-called smart growth, which is what this proposal is in Maryland. It's a really tricky thing. And governments like you have other ways besides just adopting a planning proposal to achieve what you're trying to do. We might want to do both. Sometimes there's these really creative public-private partnerships. A town will work with a couple different parties, maybe to get, not too much in the weeds, but this mixed use aspect, maybe the bottom part of the home is a business, the top part is residences, and it requires really people working separate from the planning group and just putting their heads together and realizing, here's a property, if we work together, we could get what we really want in this tiny little town. And we're for that. We would love to see some of the things that this planning group wants, but there are different avenues to get to that point. Adopting a planning proposal can be one, but there are other things that you as a government body can help do. And certainly we're willing as volunteers to contribute to that. If we need to reach out and find some people to help us, we're willing to do that too. But just keep an open mind. I think the goal is the same. I think the outreach plan that you've outlined is great. But I think there's one piece missing, and that is, how. It's one thing to increase density, but how can we make, this a really lively little center with maybe a business or two? And what kind of business, you know? Those are sort of tricky parts of this that you might want to, seek some outside help.
Thank you. Anybody else? Board?
Your process for developing your proposals, the ideas for your proposals, said that was like involved in community. Where they were like using the stick, post-it notes or sticky, some kind of like ranking certain ideas. Is that the approach you were looking at?
I mean, some of the, some things like ranking certain ideas.
Yeah,
could be,
so, but they're preconceived ideas or
not,
it's like a menu
Well, that's-
that's already there.
we have ranking of certain ideas sort of as at the end stage, but we are not
Yeah, so,
coming to this with any initial ideas. In fact, even the idea that we are densifying the area is not something that has been put, into the report yet. It's not, none of the, we are open to hearing what's going on. We are going to report on what people say is going on and what they want. And then we are going to then look at the wants and then look at the fiscal
there'll be-
and development potential realities of the space, and then try to find something, the best ways to potentially create what we hear the public saying they want as a path forward.
So you'll be somewhat open-ended as far as developing ideas to begin with.
Absolutely.
But, we're not, I mean, the town plan also has mentions quite a few ideas. Again, you're right. It's getting from ideas to
To the reality of it, yeah.
That's hard. It's very hard, especially in
Well, it takes
New England economy.
makes motivated people willing to take the gamble to.
Yeah, the investors.
It's a good vision too, and it's got to
Yeah.
be good vision. It's really, you don't.
Well,
Oh, but on that, there's gonna be, there's gonna be differences of opinion, of course, too.
Yeah, and there always is, and that's, I'm hoping the survey will help with that and
Yeah.
kind of, hopefully people will participate and it's not just a throw it in the garbage when it comes in type deal. So,
Maybe that's a good question for the survey about what type of businesses would you like to see coming
Yeah.
the town area or in town at all.
Is it okay to have a multiple, have some, would you like to see a cafe? Would you like to see a florist shop?
maybe just a small section for an open-ended suggestion where people can.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier. I think with the survey, we're trying to sort of
Be open.
toe the line of having some prescribed answers, because that does help significantly with sort of analyzing a really large batch of responses, but still leaving room for open-ended answers where people can really dream big and have a big vision and share their ideas. And as Scott said, it won't be the only place for people to share those ideas, because we're really hoping that through the tabling encounters and the sort of more workshop style sessions, that those will also be important places for people to share their ideas. And even if they're kind of par baked or just a half idea, it's still an appropriate place for people to share what they're thinking about and what they might want to see. And together with all the information, we can shape something out of it.
Well, for Pownell Youth Baseball, I'm on the board for it. So when you get your survey ready, I am more than willing to hand it out, and you guys are more than welcome to come down to the ball field you probably won't be ready for our opening day,
No.
but anytime during the season, and we close up in June.
Yeah. So
Great.
we'll meet up with sometime.
And I will make sure I hand out the cards to everybody. I'll make sure.
Points off if they don't.
I'll bench, don't take one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, great.
You guys are more than welcome.
Just in a little bit of defense of the process here, as as a regional planning association here, you know, we're not treating this in the same way as a consultant would, where we're looking at this as something where you might come in, you know, make a report, you know, fly by, drop in, leave your report and then move on to the next town. You know, we are invested in this community. You know, I'm you know, a long-term employee, you know, who's already done a couple of studies here in town. And you know, we want to see these things grow and come to fruit. So when the time comes to have those next conversations, you know, when we find the next funding source to do the next thing, to advance this even further forward, hopefully we are, you know, we will continue to be part of that process. Hopefully if the town of Pownell asks us to be, of course, but, you know, we are ultimately very invested in the region, making sure things come to fruit here.
I think, you know, maybe prompting, you know, people for ideas, if they have an idea, also ask them what it looks like, what their idea looks like within this community, how it would fit. You know, if it's, you just want a bowling alley or
Yeah,
something like that, does that fit in the community? No, probably not, but maybe it does, you know, so, you know, ask them how it looks. You know, when they're thinking about it, what's it look like?
Since you last were here, there's been sort of a kerfuffle about the old town hall and the church, so,
Following that competition.
okay, you're following it. And there's a person on the Historical Society who was really very, you know, he said, you know, that the church is actually meaningful to people. Sorry, I don't mean to sound like that, but I mean that old church, that particular church is a meaningful landmark to people who have lived here a long, long time. You know, whereas to someone who hasn't lived here their whole life, it's a very, very tiny congregation, so you don't really, you know, you don't see it as a landmark, but people used to see it as they came up the hill and knew they were in Pownell kind of thing.
It was more impressive when it still had the steeple.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So
Well, Steve was still around somewhere, is it not? Anyway, just
debatable.
just throw that out there.
There may be pieces.
Yeah,
I think at this point.
And I look forward to hearing what your conversation about that's going to be. I see it's also on the agenda today, so
Oh,
you have that, but
yes.
getting
That's
a
on the
sense.
select board to figure out.
Yeah. Getting a sense of what to do with that space. Hopefully the community will also
Yeah, maybe
have
yeah.
a lot of feedback about that space. I anticipate we'll be hearing specifically about that from some community members, and we will make sure to note it.
And I hope I hope wherever you guys set up, there's a lot of turnout and you get a lot of input.
Yeah,
But we're talking about the old town office space, right?
the old town office and the old church next door.
So
Talking
I think Megan was just kind of just mentioning it. It's that,
No, it's,
that's not for us to sit here and debate, and I don't want to waste the time doing that tonight.
I don't want to debate it. I just wanted it to be on the survey of what people think should be done with it. I mean, other people have ideas too, don't they?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the whole point, is like to get everybody's ideas, and
Yeah, exactly.
everybody has their own opinion, and it's, you know, figure out what fits best. And so I think right now it's a good plan moving forward. And I invite both of you, please attend more meetings. We need valuable community input.
Join the board.
Even if you can't or don't want to join, you're always welcome to come and voice an opinion. This is what the community needs, is involvement. So
Absolutely.
don't feel like if you're not listening to a one meeting, like you're shut out, like make your voice heard. Be the squeaky
We
wheel.
definitely want to help out because maybe we should.
Good.
And Jonathan, right?
I'm Scott.
Oh, you're Scott. Didn't mean to offend at all.
No.
Hopefully that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think you're doing great work.
I thought what you said was very interesting and useful.
Thank you.
I actually like the opinion and I like, that's what we need.
Mhm.
Kind of stir it up a little bit.
Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
If your work.
I'm gonna hang out and listen to.
Sure.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
I want anything talking about the townhouse and stuff.
No problem. So next up is discussion on raising our board numbers or commission number to 9.
We currently sit at 7.
Yeah, they're at 7.
So
We have,
we don't make that decision. We just make the recommendation to the select board. The select board then votes whether or not they want to.
how many members do we have, active members do we have currently?
7.
We have.
We currently have 7. Stacy and Jim aren't here tonight.
Stacy and Jim. Okay, Jim shows, yeah, Jim's here.
Jim's here quite often.
Yeah, he's really engaged.
Yeah, but like the rest of us, there's meetings. He
We,
can't.
Yeah.
I guess, this is how it, we inadvertently, we took on a, alternate last year. And we're not supposed to have alternate.
Yeah, right.
We accommodated, we made room and we enjoyed his company for as long as he was here.
Yeah, and then he got,
So, we do have an applicant kind of in waiting.
that'd be Bob Jarvis.
Yes. Uh-huh. I think he would be an asset, and I think, with the discussions that we could potentially be having down the road, we might need to up our membership back up to 9, where it was. Like I said, we welcomed Roy in here as an alternate, and he did well with us.
Yeah, it was-
It didn't hamper us in any way. It enhanced our work, I think.
So, yeah, I think it's
I think
more the merrier.
going back up to 9 would, I can't speak for how the select board's gonna decide anything, but it does create that opening where the person who did apply can be added.
Yeah, I think that's.
And if we had another applicant who wanted to go on.
It's, you know, because
We're working on that.
Bob Jarvis himself was very concerned about the Conservation Commission
Right.
being weighted with people who are actually conservationists.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't think this committee either, or commission should be weighted
Mhm.
and either.
Mhm.
So
Have we had 9 before?
I don't remember.
It's been years, and the reason we dropped back to 7 was because of attendance, where we technically had 9, but we were lucky if we could get 4 to attend.
Yeah.
So when we went from 9 to 7, what was the mechanism for that? Did we vote on it or?
No, the select board
Select board has
does.
to decide.
And they did it because we couldn't make a quorum.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at is just, I'm suggesting we, vote on it, and if we agree to ask the select board to do that, we can send them a letter.
We could not have 8, because then that.
No, we have to have an odd.
Gotta-
Well, I mean, you could have 8, but you can make the board 9, and if you have 8.
I mean, in other words, we can't really, select
Keep it
board
up.
can't really vote on it until we have a 9th applicant.
No.
They could create.
Well, you can, well,
It just,
You could create the opening.
you just had to create a.
And invite.
then anybody can apply to it.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I would,
Yeah.
I move that we tell select board that we would like to go to 9.
I'm okay with that.
So do we have a second?
I think Brian's,
I'm okay with asking the select board to go to 9 members. I have always said I'm open to anybody wanting to join. I would never turn anybody away. If there's interest, let people join.
You know, not.
I've said that from the beginning.
You mean the planning commission,
Planning commission,
select board too?
yeah. Well, I mean, by state statute, you only need a minimum of 3. You can expand the select board if you so choose. I think it's select board, you're allowed to go up to 7, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I got no problem with it. I just want to make sure that we don't go backwards on not having quorums again, make sure everybody's showing up.
Well, I was gonna say, if
But other than that.
it happens, then we would,
We'd have-
between our legs, go back to the select board, be like, yeah, can you drop it back down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if I'm taking every other meeting off, like I might be the guy that has to go,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah, and there's gonna be times for me, like when baseball's getting ready to start, like
Yeah.
looks like I'm gonna be coaching on Tuesdays, so those Tuesdays I'm not gonna be able to make it.
if that becomes a problem, but it might not be a problem. It might, you know, if we're always having a forum, we're fine.
Yeah,
We have lives too, so.
so speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we had a motion, a second. All in favor?
Fred, aye.
Oh, Fred, I, Megan, I.
Michelle, I.
Brian, I
And John, aye. So we'll send a letter to the select board and
asked them to take it under consideration.
go.
So are you gonna draft that and send it to him then, as the chair?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I can help you with that if you help.
Whatever, that's fine. We'll get one sent
And
out.
I hear you're a really
But
good
I'm-
writer,
Yeah.
that it is rumored.
Perfect.
So all it takes, if you're interested in joining a board or commission, is setting a letter of interest addressed to the select board and just say, state your name, where you live, you're interested in joining said commission, board, whatever.
You'd love to.
And you can add resume if you so choose, but you don't have to.
Yeah, really good, balance to some of the other,
I'll give it serious thought.
it's only,
Twice a month?
twice a month.
At most.
And you.
At most
Zoom
is
in,
twice.
you don't make it. You can just zoom in.
Yeah,
Oh,
from your kitchen.
I live so far.
You can holler from your
Well,
window.
when it's really nice out, you can sit on your front step and zoom in while waving at us.
Yeah, yeah, because I'll be in and out all summer, so I'll have to zoom in from all over the place.
Let us know where you are.
Today I'm home because I'm cat and chicken sitting, but you know, I go out. Nora's got a new album, so I'll be out traveling. It'll be in the US though, so that's good. I won't have to stay up super late to be around for something.
All right, so we're gonna move on from that to discussion of the Old Town Hall.
Public participation.
And yes, we encourage public participation in that, so. We start, anybody here on the board want to start with it?
First, let me say to the people that are in on Zoom, I don't know where to look for raised hand or anything, so if you feel like you're being ignored, I'm not intentionally doing that, and you can unmute yourself and say a couple of syllables to get my attention.
Can, anybody, can anybody inform me?
Okay.
As I remember, there was mold in the back of the old town hall.
Yeah, part of the study is to do another mold study. We have the mold study that was originally done, oh, forgive me, I think it was like back in 2019, 2018 and through there. And there was some remediation done on a grant then. But since then, obviously the building's been vacant for a little while now.
Vacant and it's been raining ever since.
Yeah, there is still heat in there. As far as I know, the dehumidifier is still in there. But we have no idea what the mold,
And what
we don't know what the mold count is, but anything that's done with the building,
needs,
that would have to be addressed.
That's gonna be.
and so too with the
I'm sorry.
front part of the building had some other issues. Was it asbestos or no?
I'm not sure about asbestos, but it's maybe. I mean, the age of the building, lead and asbestos
Yeah.
can always be a question,
Very common, yeah.
but to my knowledge, I don't know.
No, I don't.
Say there is or there isn't.
I thought that, but I just,
Yeah.
I know that there
But that was
was
gonna be part of anything that gets done with it is like, all those would have to be addressed and those are questions that would have to
That's
be.
why I'm asking,
asked.
what are they? What are the issues?
It's old,
Yeah.
so everything that stems from that. So there was talk about redoing the bathroom and like, other ideas, but that has been put to the wayside. And so kind of starting over from scratch again.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So. What is what is our purpose in discussing this tonight?
One of my concerns is that, I have a couple things that I've had some town people talk to me, some residents that have come up to me and talk to me. Cause I'm on the board and I'm on the DRB, they were concerned with some things. I'm trying to get them to come to a meeting. So if they listening out there, please come to the meetings, but there's a lot of people in town that don't like to come to meetings. They'd rather go see somebody, they want people to sit here and voice their concerns, but they just want to stay out of that spotlight. So,
Yeah.
but one of the concerns is that this was one of the things they asked me, when we got this building, the push to get this building was because that building had to have so much work done on
Yeah.
it. And
And it was expensive.
their concern now is because they have heard that there's something considerable to go in there. And that going in, where's the issues that have happened then? Is that gonna cost us this money to, remedy that situation? And that's,
So that's why I was asking,
Well,
what,
as far as the
what's
cost,
the situation?
well, I mean, for one thing, we outgrew the space. So you had the mold issue, which was gonna have to be addressed. If we wanted to continue to operate that, the mold issue was gonna have to be addressed. So it was gonna have to be remediated, probably removing a large portion of the inside, redoing a lot of it, redoing the underneath, the little crawl space there, making it more handicap accessible. But for what the town's trying to do staffing wise, we could no longer function in there. We did not have any type of privacy as far as working with confidential information. Everything is just left out in the open. So
Yeah.
it was not good. It was not good practice. And so,
So,
If I drop out, somebody let me back in because I'm walking through my yard to put my chickens up. So
Okay,
if I disappear.
I'll be watching for you.
thank
country
you.
life. So, no, I mean, that's why I was asking, because I'm,
our use for the town hall it no longer suited our purpose, but it may be suitable for another function.
but it would be costly.
Cost effective.
Well, maybe yes, no. It depends on what could go in there, who chooses to try to go in there, and whether or not something could be negotiated. Maybe you get the right person who's willing to take it on because they want to do something completely different. So the current layout won't suit them and they would need to gut it anyway.
You're talking about selling it then?
No, that's where you run into the whole thing with that is like the glebe land and who owns what, where the delineation is. So that question, my knowledge is being addressed and they're trying to figure out how that all would work.
So.
Because the town owns the building,
The church comes into it because
possibly.
it's part of the church.
Yeah, because there's a whole weird thing because of the way it was chartered back in the day for community use. So the church building was originally a meeting hall and any denomination could use the building. There was different. There was like a building commission that like the board was in charge of the building and then you had like the church committee and I don't know. I was talking to Carl on election day about it and he is a wealth of knowledge. If you ever want to learn about the town hall, talk to Carl.
One of the other things that I felt is an issue myself with it is that we were told before or heard that, a community kitchen was a plan to go in there.
That was one idea, yes. I mean, and that was, a bunch of miscommunication on behalf of the board and, the executive assistant. And that idea has been scrapped. Like, I'm not dredging that up again. Mistakes were made, they've been addressed. There's no point beating a dead horse on that and I will not entertain that.
Well, that's
Still on the table,
No,
Any idea is on the table.
still selling it, demolition. Are they on?
They're not on the table. Nobody's brought, nobody. So the original, there was an idea put forward to try to sell it. A realtor came in and looked at it and gave an estimate then on what they thought it would be worth. But then you had the whole issue with the property versus the building are two different ownerships. So because of that, yes, you could technically sell the building, but who's gonna buy a building when they can't own the land it sits on? So it was decided then that it was going to be too much of a hassle to try to sell it. So that idea was pushed off.
So.
So, but now the lawyers,
Then would it be more cost effective to just demolish the building and use green space as
parking.
parking or something? Or,
Listen, I would say if you want to put that idea before the board and offer that as a suggestion, write up a presentation and present it to the board. Anybody is welcome to put an idea before the board for ideas for the town hall.
I don't have any interest whatsoever.
Yeah, the old town hall. Nobody's demolishing the new one. You're still paying for it.
As I recall, that was something that was discussed before the vote to build the new town hall.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different ideas put forward and nothing was really ultimately decided.
But now, the town lawyer is looking into
The last I knew, it's being looked at and like the research is being done to try to track down through the records what exactly is, who has what. Because the church building, as far as I know, it's a situation where like the town owns the basement
We have,
because we store records
But
there.
Fred, can
Yeah.
I just bring up one thing? When you guys have a discussion, can you please distinguish between the old town office when you're talking versus the church when you're talking? Please do not combine them both together there because there are two separate entities in there and you guys are confusing the whole issue by saying certain things and no one knows if you're talking about the church building or you're talking about the separate.
We've been talking about the old town hall.
But I think I've been hearing other people say the church, so let's just
sorry.
keep it on.
My
let's keep
apologies,
it on the
Jim.
town
I will
office.
try to do a better job at making sure I,
Well, I thought the lawyer, we were just saying thought the lawyer was trying to figure out the ownership of both of those entities.
So
About-
theoretically, we don't know, but theoretically, it could be torn down and made into a different use because the town owns the actual building.
to my knowledge, yes, I believe that could be an option.
So
But if
who
we
owns
don't
the
own
land?
Yeah, but if we don't own
It's
the land under it, then
The
Is it
it's the whole glebe land dual ownership thing.
also I have
So that's.
Bob Jarvis wants to make a comment.
Yeah, so my interest here is really just to say that I don't want to see anything eliminated or we're probably putting the cart before the horse, even talking about demolishing it or selling it or those sorts of things. As Megan was pointing out, we do have to get that ruling from the town attorney to understand what the options, whether things are options or not options. I don't want to see any options eliminated prematurely because somebody is predisposed to a particular idea. Let's get all the options out there. And I think that's part of why we have BCRC here, right? You're doing the study on the town green and that particular area. So what might or might not work there is really, maybe we ought to wait for the output of that work to start talking about what to do with the old town hall. Just my suggestion.
do we have a timeline on when they might know what's up?
I'm not in the loop on the select board anymore.
That's a shame. Okay, so I guess we wait and find out, and then if they tell us one way or another what we can do with that building, then maybe something can be incorporated.
But I agree with Bob that we should really, we'll wait and see what townspeople want done too.
I think the more options we have, the better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't want to prematurely eliminate the selling option, or I don't think the town should prematurely eliminate the selling option. If I understood it correctly, it had to do with the size of the space, not so much the ownership. I thought the town did own the land underneath.
I
But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Maybe
about
I'm wrong. I don't know. That's a question for the town attorney and the select board to hammer out.
Right, right. And so my understanding on the realtor was more about the size of the parcel, but you can get a variance for that. And then the center stone for Pownell was also located on the property, but it seems to me that's a selling point, not so much a detriment. That would be like buying a house with a big catamount out front for the Catamount Tavern. That's not owned by the homeowners. That's owned by the town, I believe, by the town of Bennington. So, and this could be kind of the same, analogous, the same sort of analogy there.
So the center stone of the town, what is that? Have you all seen it?
That's right.
The geographical center of the town, there's a little plaque and stone up there, up in front of the town hall.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
Dead center.
But if you want to see it, walk up towards it, there's a little stone right there with a center pin.
I think I saw the stone. I didn't know what it was.
So I would say while you're emailing the select board, you could also ask if they have an update that they'd be willing to share with the planning commission.
Mhm.
On the town hall, because part of what we're trying to do here, we kind of should have some of that information.
Yeah. Well,
Don't let them forget about it and back burner it too much.
yeah. Well, that's kind of why I think it's on, this is on here is because this is what this board is for, is planning and stuff. And I think getting those ideas
Yeah.
up front.
Kind of hard to plan when you don't know what,
Right.
all
I
the
mean, if we
variables.
can get that information prior to a decision of where they're gonna go with it or what's happening, then we'll know ahead of time and
Mhm.
can submit that, so.
Yeah.
It also just seems to make perfect sense to sort of make sure it fits with what's going on over here, right? So if they're moving too quickly to do things, and that.
No, I don't think they're moving quickly.
Okay.
We rarely get around here.
Any other comments on that or?
I'm good. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that I was not suggesting that the place is demolished. I
Just
know.
asking if.
I just know that it was something that was thrown out there
Yeah.
during initial discussions before we built this, so.
Yeah, is that
That's all.
a possibility?
I don't like to destroy anything. I like old stuff.
All right, then we'll move on to town plan.
So I had a question about this town plan discussion. Town plans are due every 8 years. So that's 3 years from now. So there's really not a huge hurry that, I was wondering, did you have something in mind?
Well,
That you wanted
it
to
was.
focus on?
It was requested to be an agenda item, so I added it. But I would say,
It was requested,
as we,
who requested?
by another member, by John requested it.
Because I think it took us so long last time to do this stuff that we don't, it'll be
Last time?
past it, yeah.
It took a lot of time. It took years.
Yes.
Well, it does take, yeah, but.
And we need to start looking at it as far as new stuff.
I think that I've heard people say that this is one of the
Yeah, thank you
best.
for coming.
Thank you.
I hope we didn't bore you too much.
No.
Thank you for coming. We hope you come back.
Yes.
I'll seriously think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've heard people say that this is the best town plan they've seen in a long time. I mean, it's a good town plan.
There was a lot of thought put into it and it's a lot more organized than previous town plans.
Right.
And
It's very well written and well thought through.
I don't think it hurts to just kind of keep it in mind as we move forward.
Sure.
Right.
But I don't think we need to jump on it tonight. Is what I'm saying.
No.
We have 3, I just wanted to point out that we do have 3 years. And if we do have some particular agenda, I would like to have it expressed rather than,
So I know for me, my personal view is like, I would like to see the town plan's overall direction for the town be open to including a more commercialized look at the Route 7 corridor, less mixed use and more commercial jurisdiction, because my fear is like, once all the mixed uses go residential, they're not gonna go back to commercial. And you end up losing that possibility. And your Route 7 and your Route 346 corridor are your two main routes. And that's gonna be your most likely candidates for commercial. So for me, I would like to see part of that change. Now, I don't know the legalities of what's involved in as far as like zoning jurisdictions and what falls into like, rural residential, the different jurisdictions. Like, but that, for me, that's what I would like to see is, all right, let's take this stretch, like hypothetically from Pownell View Barn down to the Mass border. You got a few properties that are mixed use. I would like to say, okay, rather than mixed use residential, commercial, I would like to see, no, we're only gonna allow commercial in through this area. Something like that.
Well, there was an objection expressed in the plan, an objection to, a strip, what's it called, strip commercial?
Oh, like a strip mall where you have like a Kmart Plaza type deal?
We don't want it to look like North Side Drive, really, do we?
Right.
Or do we?
Well, okay, so
I don't.
yes and no, I get where you're going with that. But my thought would be location.
Yeah, it is a good.
Like, I think there's places where that fits fine into a town. Like, okay, so for me, like looking at like the racetrack area or where the old sand pit, gravel pit area is, like that end down through there, I think would be a great location to try to develop more commercially.
Yeah.
Because you're close to the Mass border.
But,
Take advantage of that. That's just my opinion.
yeah, but it's anything that we talk about with the racetrack is predicated on somebody doing.
Yeah, that whole, yeah, what I'm thinking.
Can't get that guy.
So what I'm envisioning is more of the two properties on this side of the railroad track, where one with the old baseball field, the other one, the pie-shaped one, which were properties that were identified when you came down before as having potential.
Yeah, and there's some on 346. But
Exactly, but.
individual properties, though, they aren't, you don't need a whole, I don't understand why would you need to change from mixed use to commercial?
So
Because mix has.
mixed has the potential to.
No mixed has housing.
Right.
I do understand that.
That's what we're saying.
So what's wrong with that? I mean.
Because if they build houses on it, they don't want to switch to commercial.
Just pull it out.
And in a lot of cases, you find that they don't want to switch.
And we're out. So no, but like I said, like I'm not speaking for everybody here. This is just my opinion. Like that, for me, like I'm all for providing the atmosphere to have housing. Like the whole plan for the middle of the town here,
Thank you for.
like needing to get like a more consolidated residential area. Because then you have
Thank you.
the foot traffic to be able to try to spur more localized businesses.
Yeah.
Like that I get and I support that. But what I'm thinking of more is on the main thoroughfares with traffic going by, potentially trying to capture some of that. Like for me, like I'm not opposed to a tiny strip mall, like 2-3 stores
Yeah.
type deal. I'm not advocating for a giant Amazon distribution warehouse.
Oh, so
Like, what-
that Stacy's not here, because he's advocating for.
Well, like, so for me, like, I just want to see us take advantage of the 7 and 346 corridors and try to encourage more commercial growth. Like,
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
Royal Enfield took over Gardner's store, renting that out, and they sell motorcycles there and they do service and sales there. Like, I think that's awesome. And they're great guys. If people get a chance, you want a motorcycle, stop down. So
Product placement.
never miss a chance to plug a local business.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but like I said, like, I just want to see us try to develop and so in my mind, the way I would like to envision it is you get something like an anchor store. You get somebody that's willing to take the gamble, even if it's like a national chain type deal, sets up a location. They demonstrate, like Dollar General, I think, has done a decent job of showing that, like, they put in, even though it's not the most aesthetically pleasing area, that parking lot is always busy and they have constant flow.
Yeah, and they don't have trash flowing around and they don't put things out on tables and leave
Yeah.
for 20 years.
So, but my feeling is like, if you had that in an area where there could be more room for expansion around it, you may have more expansion. Because then somebody else going like, ooh, wow, they do a lot of foot traffic. You know, if I put X business next to their Y, something complementary, maybe take advantage of that foot traffic.
What about, having?
So that's why I'm not opposed to a strip mall type idea. Now, I'm not talking 3/4 mile long, 53 store type deal. I'm thinking more like Walgreens Plaza in Bennington where Video World used to be. Like two businesses, maybe a third, you know, something small like that. I'm thinking stuff like that.
They're not exactly booming, are they, over at Walgreens?
No, but that could be true of any location, any business.
And
Business is
Great to have a pharmacy, it'd be great to have a pharmacy.
and it absolutely would.
It'd be really great if we could have, if any doctors were interested in lower taxes and like have.
Oh, the whole thing, that's a whole other argument there.
What are we, South Dewey Street?
Yeah, I mean, the hospital runs the campus down there, but since they've opened up, I've lost track of who my primary care physician is. I swear to God, it's a new one every year. Because they're, like I said, that's a whole separate issue. But like,
So you don't think we could attract?
I think I think we have the potential, but my hope would be like through using the town plan, because the town plan sets the direction, the DRB then enacts zoning bylaw changes to help facilitate the town plan, and then the select board does their part of it to help guide that going forward. But like I was saying, like I would like to see the town plan actually call out trying to designate or help encourage more commercial usage along 346 and Route 7 specifically.
We're in 346.
So, well, as I've brought up in previous meetings, anywhere from the railroad tracks down through, anywhere where there's a vacant field. Giving the option.
I think
You have some farmland. I don't know off the top of my head who's in conservation, who's not, who's open to the idea. I'm not saying forcing anybody to sell their property. I'm not saying I want to see farmland ripped up.
can't force anybody to.
No, but I don't want it to be conflated that that's what I'm endorsing.
No one's saying.
So I'm preempting that because I know the last time I spoke, some people got that impression. But I'm just saying, like, I would just like to see the option, like
Can I-
maybe in some of the residential.
I'm sorry, Bob Jarvis, can I, is it okay if I chime in?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not on the commission.
No, that's true.
I am just speaking as a member of the public. So, and we keep saying, medium business, commercial use. I think it drives home the point more to call them larger employers. Because that's what we really need. Pownell residents need jobs. And so we shouldn't be turning our backs on them if we get somebody wanting to come here. That's the trick.
That's the if.
Well, hang on, getting somebody to want to come here is the difficult part, but we also need to make it welcoming. There's no guarantee that if we're not welcoming, if we are welcoming, we're going to get someone. But there's almost a guarantee that if we aren't welcoming, we will not get someone to come in. So that's the whole point, because we can't, as a town or as a commission or as a select board or as a planning commission or anything else, we can't tell private entities how to spend their money. We can only try to make it more attractive to come to Pownell. And that was kind of why we engaged the BCRC before. They came back and gave us a couple of areas that might be good it's hypothetical, for larger employers.
But they did not mention any spaces that are currently being used for agricultural land. So I think they did their homework and decided that or found out that those places were, the agricultural land is either in conservation or, whatever. I think we should be careful to change it, that developing on agricultural land would change the character of Pownell way faster than we want it to change. It's already changing because farmers are getting older and farms are closing down. And we're gonna see big differences in the appearance of this town, the charming rural appearance. And so I don't think we want to accelerate.
However,
I don't
we
think
don't
anybody-
want to limit the ability of a farmer to maybe keep most of his property if he could sell off a field for development. If he could sell that for enough to keep his house, keep his land, pay his taxes and stuff like that.
I don't think the particular farmers that you're talking about on 346
No.
have big issues with paying their
They're
taxes.
gonna be replaced by a millionaire farmer who doesn't sell anything. They just keep the land.
Is this an actual?
No, I don't know anybody, but that's how it goes now.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
like you.
it goes, that's how it goes in rural former farm communities. They're being bought by Wall Street and
Mhm.
China places.
Well,
Well, that's a whole side tangent that I don't think we need to go down right now. I'd like to keep the focus of the conversation at hand on, town plan.
Right.
So,
What I would,
I just to that one thing that was, we gotta always remember is like, where is the water and sewer?
that's
Because
right.
Business is not gonna go somewhere that they don't have it.
Right.
Unless,
And I do agree with that. So, but
And that's true of the tannery as well. isn't it?
yeah, and that was part of what the BCRC presented to us, all their options, because I remember there was like 3 different levels of options. And it was always, the big things were always like what the town could do to help facilitate that. And the big ones were always water, sewer. Water, sewer, and I think part of it might have been like zoning to a smaller extent, depending on the area.
Small compared to the other.
Agreed, but it was still worth mentioning, hence I was bringing it up. But like, as far as, for me, like, the whole idea about the Route 7 and Route 346, changing some of the areas to designated commercial versus mixed, I would be more apt to support trying to expand the sewer to a commercial area than expanding it to a residential. Because when you expand it to just a residential area, you're not going to get recoup the money as opposed to a business. A business, you get taxes, but you get taxes from a resident. But a business brings in foot traffic. And, that could potentially lead to maybe another business looking at that, wanting to set up another business. And then, sparking the flame. Has to start somewhere. You're never gonna just jump in and have a raging.
I can see this offer for Route 7, but I really can't see it. Route 26.
And maybe not, but like I was saying, like,
I mean, and I think.
it's our 2 main routes. So to me, it makes sense to explore that option, at least in discussion.
Didn't we just,
And
With the
they did point out
CRC?
areas along.
and there weren't,
Potentials.
there were not fields.
No, okay, so ignore the farm part of it, strike that, I take that back. It still doesn't change the fact that there.
End of Dean Road, the house at the place in the end of Dean Road, they recommended as a commercial,
Yeah, there's that one.
where were the other?
They talked about, we could try to expand.
Land across the river.
We try to expand, water sewer to the Mac molding site.
Right.
To help facilitate the growth there.
It's Mac Molding, that's what I said, the tannery, I meant to say Mac.
with that, I want to throw out there to see what you guys' pleasure is. I've been talking with manager. I work with one of the managers. He's helping the wrestling program. And he's a manager at Mac Molding, and they're doing the roof over and things like that down there now, try to expand it a little bit in there now. They could potentially have bigger plans to help out down in this area. Would you guys be willing to have them come in? I mentioned it to them. If we could have one of them or the couple of them come in to discuss potential options for
Now,
that.
I'm open to any business wanting to come in with ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would never turn any business that comes in that wants to do a presentation. I'm open for anything.
I will,
We should, before we have them in, we should have a better sense of what that sewer hookup would look like, because it was going from something very big to something, you know what I mean? It was.
I think it was gonna be the line size and then the pump size would have to be
Some updates.
increased.
Yeah, it was it was a big expense.
Right.
And it might.
Potentially, depending on the need.
But it's, I think the discussion, that's why I'm asking, because I feel that the discussion with them, with their management, if it has an opportunity for them to put business back in there, put something in there.
I think we
it's an
should,
Opportunity.
I think we should know what we're talking about when we talk about that sewer hookup.
But I mean, that would be another option. How many
Yeah,
people?
well, I would say
We could
let's,
still have that discussion, but I think we need to find out what they're able to do, how big.
yeah, what are they talking, you know, as far as expansion? Are they talking, bring 5 employees down because they want to do more storage and they need to do better turnaround? Or are they actually talking, bringing?
They're looking to build another building, from my understanding, up in.
Well, I say invite them down, let's have the conversation, and then we can go from there. And if depending on what they say, we can reach out to Darcy and the select board.
Right.
We could try to put the pieces together and get people talking.
Increase that.
Yeah, and see what, if the town can do anything, what can the town do to help facilitate?
Right. And that was what I was interested
I
in.
mean, there's only so much a municipality can do.
That's right.
We could look we'd look for grants like that to upgrade.
It was a pretty expensive proposition, so we ought to find out. Would Darcy be the one who would?
I would say Darcy being the head of the sewage department would be the right entity.
Should
Maybe
somebody,
invite.
one of us call her or speak to her?
No, I think, no, we should let the people from Mac Molding come in first, see what their idea is before we go to Darcy with anything.
Yeah,
Right.
All right, yeah, I just don't want to sound ignorant when we talk to them.
No, we're not gonna sound ignorant. They're bringing an idea.
we're gonna find out their
They're
ideas.
familiar with the town. They know what
Yeah.
our sewer and water issues are. This is
Okay.
not like a brand new business coming in.
Yeah, that's true.
but we have to start somewhere, so small steps.
That's what I was looking at. So if you're all in favor of that, I will contact them.
Yeah.
I'm perfect, yes,
Yes.
wholeheartedly.
No,
I don't think we need to have a motion on that, but
I'm good, I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
So you, just back to what Brian said, the like strip mall type of thing, and I'm just using that word because it's the only words, but I don't know how much any of you go over to Albany, but I grew up in Loudonville, and right there on Route 9 is the Newton Plaza, and it started out with a couple of stores, and there's so much foot traffic now. And it just expanded, and it's like been a great boon to the economy and things like that. So I mean, if you plan it right, you get the right businesses in there, it's a good idea. Because then once they're here in town, they're gonna have to stop other places. So there's no saying you can't have a few stores here, a few stores somewhere else. And maybe it is at some point, trying to talk to some developer that's open to that type of thing. And, see how it goes.
Sounds good.
That's all I was trying to do, was just, that's my idea for what we could do to help improve. What I would like, that's why I say that's what I would like to see the town plan kind of address that, open to development, commercial use, something to that effect along the main route travel corridors.
So let's, we can put this on for obviously more discussion, so.
Yeah, but obviously I don't wanna beat the town plan thing to
Right.
death every
Do
meeting.
we,
Right. No.
do we need to title it as town plan or future development
Right.
discussion?
I'd say maybe every couple of months we can throw it on the agenda and just have a little discussion on it.
Let's see what we get when Mac Molding, if they can come down, when they can come.
I'll work on that and find a date and time and put it on a schedule.
That's a big building.
Yeah.
That is a big building. It gives me hope that they're actually putting the money in the roof.
Out of jobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that is not cheap, so that shows, yeah, they're serious about at least keeping it.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I have a question. Inside Mac Molding, I've never been in there. Is it, they're just using it for storage for their other places right now?
Currently down here, it's all storage. Potentially is what I'm concerned with is I would love to see them put more business in. So that's why I mentioned it to the manager, and he's all for having a conversation. So
More manufacturing?
type of manufacturing, they put some machines in and run something. So, I mean, it's gonna be a discussion of what they could potentially put in there, and that's what we want to hear. And I think we can.
No PFOAs?
Right.
I mean, I'm more curious just to let them talk and see what.
Yeah, see what they have to say.
And what it would take for them to, or for us to have them there. I mean, that's what I'm kind of interested in, so.
So Jim wants to come in. Morning, Jim.
Let's move to public comment, and then, Jim, you can start out.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I was waiting for public comment, so you're in there now?
Yep, go ahead.
I guess the only question I have is, I wasn't sure what the procedure was. I've had a couple of people just kind of ask about businesses being allowed within rural residential areas. And so I was just wondering what the procedure would be in Connell, where that discussion kind of comes up to find out, do we still want to continue having certain businesses allowed within rural residential areas, or at the same time, maybe a little more stipulation as to, as someone kind of said, that aesthetics at the Dollar General isn't as good as it could be. Maybe more aesthetic discussions or conditions or hours of operations or other things could be involved in the whole bylaws, or better kind of direction for whoever's making the decisions to approve or not approve a petition or a permit. So I just wasn't sure if that's something that the select board initiate, whether the planning commission initiates, or whether the DRB initiates, or I try to initiate, just so that we can just kind of review that whole process. Thank you.
I would say, short answer, yes. Because honestly, you could try to initiate something by reaching out to the select board, the DRB, to request, updating zoning bylaws, that kind of stuff. We, as the planning commission, could absolutely do the same thing. Select board could do the same thing and make a request to the zoning board, or the zoning board could just tackle it.
Well, I think, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, is this reflecting back on the controversy of about a year ago with the garbage removal business that wanted to move in next to
It involves a lot of permits that have been happening that may have been happening over the last couple of years that just need to be discussed a little bit more to find out, is this what the people want?
Yeah. The town plan does have, it says that we should have more requirements of businesses moving in, aesthetic requirements, requirements about appearance. And I think that would cover a lot of people's, certainly my fears about strip malls or whatever. I mean, it might, if we could be sure that it was going to have some greenery, some good looking signage.
You're talking the bylaws, not the town plan, right?
Well, the plan mentions it, the town plan mentions it.
Yeah, the town plan sets the vision, and then it's the DRB that sets the bylaws to help accomplish that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if did the bylaws actually, I haven't really.
So there is stuff in there about signage, you're allowed to have, your sign, like so many square feet, like.
Lighting and,
There's requirements in it.
Yeah.
Sets forth, but, the DRB can set more if they want, or.
yeah.
But
Just take a look at what's there and.
the zoning bylaws don't like go right out into the weeds aesthetic wise. There's nothing in there like, oh, you need to have 4-inch clapboard siding that needs to be painted this shade of red.
Right,
Like
nothing like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be too much, yes. Although, it might look good if the whole series were coordinated, but what are you gonna do? That's up to the owners to be smart.
Yeah.
Attract people.
I mean, in the past, DRB has gone to site visits and
But, you know-
we've looked at those things and listened to the
But I mean,
people. What,
DRB are the ones who allowed the, certain real, abominations out on Route 7 to be allowed to stand or, move in there. And they've been a big mistake and have made the town look embarrassing,
I think she's speaking up past DG. But like, she's not talking current DRB, she's talking DRB's
No,
a generation ago. What?
A generation ago, did they have DRB back?
I think she's talking about like when a permit was issued, like
Somebody-
essentially a blank check. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, DRB, I said, but yeah,
yeah.
Fred's right, zoning administrator.
Not to confuse the whole issue, I think it's just if there's a review of the possible businesses that are allowed in a rural residential area is one of the issues that need to be kind of bit discussed. I mean, whether it's aesthetics or anything, but my understanding is that the planning commission makes up suggests bylaws and everything, which goes to the select board through hearings and stuff like that. And then the DRB hopefully makes decisions based on what the bylaws are. So I guess it goes to the beginning of what are in the planning, what are in the the bylaws regarding residential areas and what businesses can really be allowed within them. And then hopefully the DRB will follow the suggestions of the bylaws and put stipulations on of hours of operation, let's say of 9 o'clock until 9 o'clock, with items that are not allowed after 9 o'clock and noise, stuff like that. So my philosophy was basically asking about the businesses within rural residential. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, can I ask you a question quickly? Do you have a copy of the zoning bylaw?
I was just gonna say, gee, Jim, you should really make a study of this.
Yeah, you could download that off the town website.
I do have one, and I guess there was a question that I was asked about a business that did open up in the rural residential area. It is permitted, so I can't, I'm not gonna argue against it.
Right.
It's something that the people did involve or did approve of when they went through the hearings. I guess my question is whether it should be something that should be re-reviewed.
Right.
Yep. That's kind of some of the stuff we want to do here with the town plan is review some of it again. And if we think there's some changes that can be made, we'll make those changes. And
I'm sure
then,
Yeah, but you're talking in two different directions, I think. You want it to be open to businesses kind of with as few restrictions as possible, so we attract more business. I think it's better to have some restrictions. But so it makes the town more attractive.
having restrictions, yes, you can have restrictions, but you don't want to restrict them in a way that not having the business come. You can restrict things like,
Well,
there's going to be things that are.
case in point of that, the garbage business next door to a residence.
You what?
That,
There was a construction business there prior to that.
I wouldn't go too far into the weeds with this particular discussion about something that's already been issued.
yeah.
It's been discussed, there are lawyers involved.
I'm just saying, I
They
think,
didn't press the issue any further.
Mhm.
I think it's a finished issue, so we shouldn't keep going there.
well, except that it's our experience.
Yeah.
And we should
Yeah.
work from our experience, is what I'm trying to say.
Is there any other public comment? Anybody else with their hands up?
Will you entertain a motion to adjourn?
If there's no other public comment, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye, Brian, aye.
John, aye.
Michelle, I.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Everybody have a great night.
Now wish
See
me
ya.
luck.
Now Fred's got to figure out how to end the meeting.
Well,
It would be great if you jumped on board. What was his name again? Oh, you're not good with names.
No.
He's the guy that lives over there and
And meeting for all.
Yep.
Record